Hello and welcome to our April edition. They have been a controversial topic in Europe in the recent months. Body scanners. A tool to make air travel and official buildings more secure, body scanners also offer people that we have never met an insight into our most private sphere. While researching on this topic, we found out a very interesting truth.
Hot debates about matters of security and privacy are fought in the hall of the European Parliament. Right under their feet, down in the dark basement, 8 completely untouched X-ray body scanners are waiting to be sold. The MEPs themselves felt these scanners would have been too intrusive. The Commission had proposed to install these so-called naked scanners at airports across the EU in order to enhance security.
It is a new technology which is supposed to replace the traditional gates where you have to go through when you are in an airport.
Nowadays, before you start your journey by plane, passing the security check is an unavoidable requirement.
You have to undo your belt, you have to undo your shoes, so it's quite intrusive in terms of activities.
If this already feels like an intrusion in your privacy, how would you feel about walking through a scanner that shows your naked body on a screen?
Pretty uncomfortable, you know. Yeah, naked.
Oh, they're quite sexy. I don't like them.
At airports in Amsterdam and London, these new scanners are already in use. However, the Commission's plans to install the body scanners across Europe have recently been rejected.
The European Parliament said stop.
We have the impression that the Commission finally might withdraw their whole proposal on body scanners.
Ever since September 2001, tighter security measures in the US also affect European citizens. Booking a transatlantic flight, a range of your personal data is requested. Anything from private contact details to mere preferences is included in what is known as the Passenger Name Record, or PNR.
The United States law enforcement authorities required European airlines to transmit to them passenger data. We now have an international legal binding agreement between two partners, between the United States and the European Union. This information will be stored in the United States for 7 years.
But it's possible that also some sensitive information is given.
Data protection agencies and privacy advocates have voiced serious concerns about this passenger name record.
The information is brought to another justice system.
We had no control over what would happen with this information afterwards.
So how effective is the storage of such a massive amount of data really?
The terrorists made their terrorist attacks by plane, and the thinking behind it was, had we known more about these people before, then we might have stopped them.
Ms. Geig, responsible for data protection in North Rhine-Westphalia, thinks differently.
Up to today, no terrorist has been found by this method.
Both the passenger name record and the body scanners are widely perceived with skepticism among European citizens.
Giving away more and more information about my personal, individual data. And this is one thing I cannot appreciate.
I think there's a violation of privacy.
It's just a matter of the balance between freedom and security.
If we want to live in a space with 100% control and security, so there won't be any space for freedom.
So in the end, it's all about striking a balance between security and privacy. In the case of the passenger name record, security has won. But in the body scanners debate, the victory was with privacy. At least for the time being.
In 2 months' time, people all across the European Union will cast their votes for the European parliamentary elections. But how much do these people actually know about the election campaign and about the topics that will matter in this campaign? In order to find this out, we went to Aachen and to Brussels.
In June 2009, European citizens in all 27 member states have the opportunity to elect their parliamentary representatives in Brussels. It seems, however, that the Union is still far from being appreciated among the European electorate, or even present in the heads of the people.
I'm not interested in European politics, but I think that a lot is done in Brussels, which is unnecessary. Like regulating the salt content of bread, or whether a cucumber should be bent or straight. To me, this is a work provision scheme for politicians.
Many Europeans do not have much information about the topics or the candidates in the upcoming elections.
Do you think your local candidate for the European Parliament is campaigning enough? Or should she maybe make a greater effort to inform the citizens? Probably it would be wise to make people notice her campaign at all.
To this end, Europe Direct was established. Like here in Aachen, with several offices in each member state, this organization was set up to answer people's questions regarding the Union. And there is much for them to do.
We often hear, those in Brussels, they are far away, they take decisions which I don't like and which I don't understand. And there we have to inform the people in small steps. The first thing that we have to notice is that we have to inform about the election itself. This starts with the date. There are surveys. Many people don't know when there are elections in Germany and the different member states. Also, people ask which institutions are elected, what is the influence of the European Parliament, and so on.
But how do the main protagonists communicate the European project in order to reach their electorate? The incumbent mayor of the city of Aachen, Sabine Verheyen, is one of the candidates who run for a seat in the European Parliament. She intends to make citizens, especially the younger generations, more aware of the successes of the European Union.
I want to go to schools to young people because young people don't recognize the success of Europe always. So many things are normal and they are using the successes of the European Union, and I want to make it more present to them.
Meanwhile, also in Brussels, politicians are looking for ways to communicate their topics of these elections to the voters. Joe Leinen is a German MEP from the group of Social Democrats. He chairs the Committee for Constitutional Affairs and thinks that common European elections are still far from being a reality in the Union.
Now, unfortunately, we have not really European elections, but 27 national elections. And I fear that, unfortunately, again, some national controversies will play a major role in the one or the other country.
Yet, between the 4th and the 7th of June 2009, citizens are called upon to make use of their right to elect those most adequately representing them. For Leinen, two topics clearly stand out, demanding strong and concerted cooperation of the whole Union.
If you look on the financial crisis and the climate change, already those two mega topics are visibly European matters. No country alone could solve any of those problems.
The European Parliament has a budget of 28 million euros to encourage the hundreds of millions of eligible voters across Europe to go to the polls. However, even with that money, it will be difficult to mobilize Europeans to participate in the European project. The voting turnout will remain low if politicians do not manage to further involve those in it to whom they are supposedly accountable.
Joe Leinen just mentioned two topics as being truly European in the electoral campaign: environment and the financial crisis. Just recently, the Spring Summit of the European Council had exactly the same two topics on the agenda. We wanted to know, can you save the environment and secure economic growth and jobs?
Not only since the movie An Inconvenient Truth, people's awareness was raised towards the world's climate crisis, but also the agenda setting of national and European Parliament indicated the severeness of the environmental situation of our planet.
If businesses want to stay anyhow competitive on the markets despite of the crisis, they have to look into the future, and that means look into their environmental impact. And the sooner they actually instead of opposing the environment, actually invest into how they can get even more competitive without harming the environment.
Recovery plans and greening the economy don't exclude each other. That is perfectly doable and fits well together.
In theory, it seems fairly simple to combine both crises. However, in practice, tension between different interests prevail. For companies, it is important to survive and think about short-term measures as well as employment of the personnel. At this critical situation, this might seem to be more apparent. But can we take long-term measures into consideration, namely protecting the environment at the same time?
But I think at that current stage, what should be the main focus is keep European companies alive.
A modern day John Maynard Keynes would surely tell us that we can overcome the economic recession and deal with climate change in one fell swoop.
How can we combine the two?
If we are prepared to put insulation into every home, school and hospital in Europe, to put solar panels on every roof, we reduce our dependence on Russian oil and gas, we get ahead of the curve in developing green technology, and we put people back to work while fighting climate change at the same time.
We should spend it not just to spend money, but for new technologies which are helpful to fight climate change and so on. And at the same time, we should defend the stability of our European currency. We cannot go on spending money more and more and more.
But if we want to combine the two, the member states of the European Union need to let go of their short-sightedness and turn away from national protectionism and open up for an EU-wide coordinated approach.
What is important now is a better coordination of plans. What is a little bit the problem is that in every member state, each government goes for its own initiative, and sometimes we lack some European coordination where you could create some positive spillover effect.
What will be the future of the EU, and can we really benefit from these world crises?
Fundamental changes in politics and policies do happen in times of crisis.
And the opportunity is to change the way we do things, bring growth back, but growth of a qualitatively different kind.
Growth of a qualitative different kind might mean green growth, concluding to say, these tough circumstances seem hard to overcome, but if there really is the possibility of greening the economy while tackling the economic crisis, we should not miss this chance to do so.
Thank you for watching us. In the next edition in May, we are going to talk about the election campaign to the European Parliament. Please stay tuned and be sure to give us some comments.